I'm Jennifer Troyer, Dean of the Belk College of Business here at UNC Charlotte. So let me just say that we are excited to be here. We're excited to celebrate with our fellow Niners for 49ers Spirit Week, and we welcome you to the second Belk Talks Business. So as part of the 50th anniversary of the Belk College, Belk Talks Business is a new virtual event series designed specifically for Niners and their guests, sharing insights on leadership, tips for success, and other timely and relevant topics like the one we have today. So the Belk College of Business was actually established in November 1970 with just 8 full-time faculty members. Jump ahead 5 decades, and the college now has more than 33,000 alumni, over 100 full-time faculty, and we are a major economic driver in the Charlotte region. So that's really something to celebrate. We have a timely topic for you today, focusing on the launch of Bold Rush, the highly anticipated new brand identity for the Charlotte 49ers. I'm ready to learn the inside scoop from our panel of marketing experts and insiders. Let me introduce you today to our moderator, Scott Lieberman. So Scott is actually an alumnus of the Belk College. He serves as the vice chair for the Belk College Alumni Council, and he's previously served as the UNC Charlotte Young Alumni Chapter President. He is also the co-host of Obesession, a sports podcast dedicated to the Charlotte 49ers. I'd encourage you to check it out. In his day job, he's a relationship manager with LPL Financial. So welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Dean Troyer. Really happy to be here. And I think this is going to be a very exciting event. We got an awesome panel, and we'll get to them in a second. But what's a good event without Niner door prizes? So several of our panel have agreed to sponsor some 49er giveaways. So the first one we want to get going immediately is sponsored by the UNC Charlotte bookstore. So we've got a 12-ounce stainless steel mug with the all-in-C and a 24-ounce stainless steel bottle with several of the new marks. We'd like you to head to Twitter and post a photo of how you're viewing today's Belk Talk business presentation. So I'm behind my desk, as you can see. Show me what you're looking at. Show me what your desk looks like. Show me some cool 49er gear, and potentially you could win some of these cool prizes. Use the hashtag BoldRush and tag UNCC Belk College to enter, and we'll send you a direct message if you are selected. Also, want to let you know we will be opening this up to Q&A throughout the presentation. We're going to go through a few core questions. I got some more if no one has any questions, but I'm sure you all do. So go to slido.com and then enter event code BoldRush. And from there, you can type in any questions you have. And if you like a question that someone else has posted, just give it a like. We'll look at that, and whoever has the most likes will kind of go to the top, and we'll go top down on most likes questions and try to get to as many of those as we can within the hour. So again, one more reminder, that's slido.com and then Bold Rush. And you can do that on your laptop, on your phone, anything you want, and we'll get to those later in the panel. So with all that, time to get to the heavy hitters. We got to introduce this great group of panelists. First, of course, we got to introduce Mike Hill, who became the 7th director of athletics for the Charlotte 49ers in 2018. He's done a fantastic job. If I could give him a performance review, A++, been crushing it. So please welcome the director of athletics, Mike Hill. I'll do the virtual round of applause.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Now, yeah, Mike, thanks for being here. We're excited to have you. Now, please welcome Todd Aldridge. Todd is an executive creative director for LGA here in Charlotte and a distinguished alumnus of the College of Arts and Architecture. Go Niners. And we'll add that Todd designed the new all-in-C. So Todd, you're the man. And we're excited to hear how you came up with that. And of course, love when alumni kind of come together and make something awesome like this. So Todd, welcome to Belk Talks to Business.
Thanks, Scott. Good to be here.
Next, I'd like to introduce UNC Charlotte's bookstore and licensing program manager, Rachel Skipworth. Rachel has over 20 years of experience in higher education and oversees the university licensing program. She's also a liaison between the university and the university bookstore, and she's done a lot of this Wear Green Wednesday. She helped partner with Minor Obsession about a year ago with some of that stuff too. So Rachel, welcome. Excited to have you on the panel as well.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And then finally, I'd like to introduce you to my fellow Belk College alumni, Chris Moxley. Chris is a Charlotte native. He received an Excellence in Leadership Award from the Black Alumni Chapter and was selected as a Distinguished Young Alumnus by the Belk College. Recently, with Coach Will Healy, he was named Top 40 Under 40 by the Charlotte Business Journal. Chris is a manager and compliance officer at TIA and is the co-owner and partner in several businesses, included the award-winning Charlotte-based lifestyle brand 704 Shop. And he also serves on the UNC Charlotte Foundation of Board Directors. And he's just awesome. Known Moxley for a while. Chris, welcome.
Good to be here, Scott. Thanks, man.
So I'm going to start with a few questions for the panelists, and then a little later we'll take everyone's questions on Slido. So I'm going to start with Mike Hill to kind of give us the picture of the Bold Rush. We promised a behind-the-scenes look. Mike, I'm hoping you can take us back to where this started, what prompted the decision to explore a new brand for the Charlotte 49ers, and then obviously the trials and tribulations. You kind of started during a rough time on campus and kind of released it during a rough time in the world. So tell us that story, paint your picture. We know you're a good storyteller.
Well, thanks again for having me on here. I want to thank the dean and the college for hosting this. This is something that we love to talk about. It's an exciting time for our athletic program, for our university. And so in our minds, this is just sort of a manifestation of all the great momentum that we have as a program. You know, when I arrived here in March of 2018, the last thing on my mind was a rebrand. We needed to hire a basketball coach. That was the first thing on the agenda. And there was a lot to do just to learn the institution, the program, and the community. And so I think a lot of times people who come from the background as I do, which is a marketing and external relations background, you know, they maybe get accused of wanting to just, you know, put their fingerprints on something and maybe mess with something they shouldn't. And honestly, that was sort of the opposite mindset that I had, because I did have a background in branding. I was probably even more cautious and careful about wanting to make sure that we just did a deep dive assessment of what our brand represented. And so when we made the decision after about a year of being here to engage Luquire George Andrews to help us sort of navigate and conduct what we call a brand assessment, just to establish, you know, whether or not the power of our brand was what it should be in our community and in our region and even on a national level. And so we were really excited to have LGA partner with us in the process, because they have deep roots in this city as well. And Todd Aldridge, who was the chief creative on this, is an alum himself, you know. And again, it was just, it made a lot of sense for us to use a Charlotte-based agency to assist us to decide where we were going to end up. Now, again, we expected and anticipated that there could be some changes, but we did not know for sure until we got the feedback that was required when you go through a brand assessment. And so that involved and entailed numerous surveys, focus groups, interviews with key constituents on campus, our coaches, our student athletes, students, alums, et cetera, to get their feedback. And in the end, the brand assessment told us that you know, we needed some work. Bottom line was that it did not have the power and the strength that we needed it to really be reflective of where we believe we're headed as a program and what we aspire to be. And so with that, that was our cue then to begin the creative process, which Todd and his team led, and the end result is what it is here. Now, I mentioned on a forum I was on last night that you know, I'd have to be the worst AD in the country to pick a pandemic to decide to launch a new brand. That was not the strategy. But the reality was this: we were really in a position where we did not have a choice. We had already made several decisions and had things in motion, including the ordering of all of our new team uniforms, which you have to do months in advance before the season begins, in addition to other merchandise, et cetera. And so, that was already way down the track when the pandemic hit. And so then we had to make a decision. At that point, our plan was to launch it a little bit later in the spring, and we had to make a decision because it didn't feel quite right. The world was in turmoil, chaos in our country, in our community, just trying to figure out, this pandemic and what was going on. And so we pressed the pause button on the brand launch to sort of gather ourselves. And I think in the end, when we were able to identify that there were some NFL teams and also some other universities that began to slowly roll out their rebrands, we felt a little bit more comfortable. And quite frankly, we also made the decision that after a few months of being isolated, that our community, our university community, our fan base, our alums, needed something to rally around and to look forward to and to be excited about. And so in the end, that's when we decided to go ahead and roll out the brand in June, and the rest is history. So we could not be more pleased with how this has gone. It has been a long and winding road, as these things are. It's if you look at it from start to finish, it was probably about a 15-month process, and it took an incredible team of people who were well aligned to make it work. And so we're thrilled with the results, and looking forward to this brand becoming one of the elite brands in our market and in our region.
Thanks, Mike. And I think introducing it was great. I think it gave us something to get excited about when there was no sports and nothing really out there. So I think it timed out as well as it could. So I want to bring the rest of the panelists in. And this effort obviously went beyond the athletic department. What stood out most about the Bold Rush? And I'll start with you, Todd, since you're kind of a key contributor of this. You are the C.
Part of the C. The team here at LGA was lucky enough to be involved in this process, and Mike mentioned it. There was a sense of collaboration that happened across not only the agency, the athletic department, auxiliary services, Rachel's team, and licensing. They had a student advisory committee that we were able to run ideas through. That was a huge factor in helping us sort of shape the decisions as we navigated this, not only the rebrand and what the positioning of the university was, but also the look and feel. What's the tone? What's the changes to the color scheme, the mark, things like that. The sense of collaboration that happened through this process over those 14 months was great to be a part of. That was the thing that stood out to me the most.
Awesome. And then Rachel, from a licensing perspective during a pandemic, how has that been? And you've all gotten a lot of gear out there pretty quickly, which is impressive.
So yeah, we got a lot of gear out there. During launching something like this during a pandemic, it was not easy because there were so many unknowns. I'll be honest with you, Chris Fuller and Mike Hill were great to work with, trying to help us get through all this. We worked with a lot of our licensees to make sure they were aware of what was going on. We told them ahead of time what was happening. We worked with our partner CLC to help us get information out there to our licensees and getting them prepared, whether it be signed NDAs, so that way marks didn't leak out or what have you. But there was a lot getting involved or going forward with this. We had to make sure that we had the product available for our influencers. So we worked with like Promologic to make sure that was taken care of. And then we worked with 704 Shop and Barnes & Noble to make sure product was available the day of the launch. And 704 Shop, they perform miracles for us. So, and we knew that they were very important to make sure this launch went out correctly, because without them, and of course Barnes & Noble, it would not have gone as well as we wanted to. And 704 Shop, I don't know if you saw their numbers, but they sold out very quickly the day of the launch. I mean, and that tells you a lot about the marks. It tells you a lot about what the fans wanted. Athletics listened to what the fans wanted. In athletics, LJ, they provided it. So the key was listening and making sure that we had the marks out there ready for launch.
Well, I think that's a great lead in to Chris Moxley, Mr. 704 Shop. And I believe he has some slides to show you why they're selling out so quick with some of the gear that you can pick up. Cue the slides.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Scott, for the tee up. I think so. Once they get the slides going, I think, you know, the big thing for us, as Rachel indicated, was to be ready right out of the gate with gear that was of a quality and of a standard that was going to be representative of the university but also of our brand. Unfortunately, you know, when we you know, first launched everything, because of the, you know, and Mike kind of alluded to this, the supply chain, you know, breakdowns were still very real for us. And so while we wanted to come right out of the gate with like our most impressive stuff that we had been working on, a lot of that stuff just wasn't ready. So, you know, we went back to our bread and butter, if you will, right? Like the t-shirts, obviously still of a high quality, but so we kind of went with just the three that you see here. And if you go to the next slide, so this was, you know, on June, I think 23rd. And about a month later or so, you know, July 24th, so we came with the toddler tees, the onesies, which were a big hit. And then a fourth t-shirt. And we also did a restock of 2 of the designs from June. A few weeks later, we did the 2 masks, which you can see here, all in green. And then next slide. And we actually have a video, but before we play the video, I wanted to give the audience just a few stats. And some of the marketing and, you know, business students may find this interesting. So Rachel had indicated like the sellout. So just for, you know, the stuff that you've seen, right? Like the June 23rd stuff, the July and the August, the masks, we sold over 1,600 units of you know, just various items, which was huge, right? So you start to see that kind of flooding into the marketplace of the brand. 80 to 90% of those items sold out within 2 days of the release. And then, you know, then basically it's like, you know, it kind of dwindles, but within 2 weeks, basically it was like 100% sellout. And the other insight that I was able to kind of come up with was it was about a 50-50 split between new customers and returning customers. So that means, you know, that we're actually expanding our brand as a result of the partnership with the university. So that's huge for us. And so I'll go ahead and let you guys play the video. Awesome. I get pumped. I get hyped like every time I see that video. And huge shout out to Coach Healy and Austin Duke, who you saw, and just the university for really giving us that level of access to be able to shoot that ourselves. So then, you know, we can kind of continuing along the trajectory of the releases. So October 7th was a Wednesday. We started with the Wear Green Wednesdays. We rolled out 3 different masks. As you can see, these are in alternate colors, and also 2 short sleeve tees. And these are all part of like our what we call our process line. So it's a more premium, higher quality fabrics, more custom tailoring, et cetera. You can go to the next one. The following week on the 14th, we released the tracksuit, which you saw in the video. We had Austin come in and actually model for us. He's a good looking guy. Plus, you know, just with the deep roots of the university, it made sense. And then the next slide. you can see more of the close-ups of, you can really see the quality and craftsmanship that went into these pieces, both the top and the bottom. And then the next slide. So we, in addition to the tracksuit, we did the long sleeve tees as well. It's 100% cotton, really high quality stuff. And then the next slide is just, tomorrow's Wear Green Wednesday. We got more stuff that's coming tomorrow for the 3rd installment, and then the 4th installment on the 28th as well. So we're looking forward to continuing to roll stuff out, looking forward to the long-term partnership. And it's been really exciting so far. So glad to be here again.
Thanks, Chris, and excited to see what comes out tomorrow. I don't know how you're going to top the tracksuit, but I'm sure you planned it accordingly.
Yep.
So shifting gears kind of with you and also with Todd, you both are alumnus. Chris, myself, Belk College of Business representing. Kind of curious, as alumnus, what did it mean to you to work on the brand and be an integral role? Like, could you imagine this when you were in college, that you were going to be this ingrained with the university and kind of part of the future? I'll start with Todd. Any thoughts on that?
Wow. Yeah, the connection to the university is so special. I think as alums, we all know what that sense of place is like. You spend 4 years at UNC Charlotte, and it changes who you are. It puts you on sort of a different trajectory than where you entered. So yes, I love being there. I was, it's interesting being in part of a Belk College discussion because I was part of the row arts crowd, right? But both my parents worked at the university starting in the late 70s. So I had sort of that vision of Charlotte from as it was growing. My parents spent over 25 years at the university. My dad was a maintenance mechanic. And then my mom was an admin assistant for different deans, College of Nursing, and then Dr. Witherspoon with the Religious Studies Department. My sister was a Belk College alum. I met my wife at UNC Charlotte my sophomore year, and my son attended UNC Charlotte as a Levine Scholar. So I got to see UNC Charlotte for the past 50 years from different lenses. So to be a part of something and to be a part of that footnote of UNC Charlotte history meant a lot to me, but more because of the sacrifices my parents made and seeing my son kind of go through the similar steps that I went through going through the university. So it was an honor to be a part of a team dedicated to this project.
Yeah,
Chris,
Scott,
same question to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just add, I'll start with, I'll approach it with 2 points. One, just purely from a business standpoint, it made all the sense in the world. You've got the premier, university, and obviously I'm biased, but this is still true, even if I wasn't biased. You've got the premier university in this region. Just the power of the alumni, right? I think Mark Cologne, shout out to Mark. I see he put it in the chat, 145,000 plus, alumni. So purely just from a potential client, right, and customer base, that makes all the sense in the world for us to want to be involved with something that's new, fresh, and exciting. But to answer your point about, could you ever have imagined, as a student, I lived in Smurf Village, which doesn't exist anymore, but, living out there and playing ball and, this involvement took me back to those years and never would have imagined. But, we have such close ties to the university as, me personally, and us as a firm, as a company, 704 Shop. And especially, Mike, once you invited us in to see the new brand and kind of push us over the edge, we we were all in, and Todd, we were blown away by what you guys came up with. Scott was actually mad that he didn't come up with it himself, but you know, that's the way it goes. But you know, once we saw that, and I think it also goes to show the power of the relationships, right? The fact that Mike Hill reached out to us personally, invited us to his office, which is awesome. It was just, the whole pitch of it just came together in the right way, and it made us feel good to be asked in that way. So you know, we were glad to be able to lend our brand equity to, you know, such a huge movement.
So I'm seeing a lot of questions come in on Slido. So I think I'm going to pivot to that, and then we can always come back to some other questions if we run out. But I want to make sure that we get to everything that everyone's asking. Kind of a two-part question. It looks like one or two are the same. I'm going to go to Mike on this. This is a fun one. At what point does the university and athletics have a conversation about a unified branding and name? It's got to be difficult with the two trying to coexist. And there's similar question on, you know, UNC Charlotte versus Charlotte. Can you get into that and kind of how the branding study worked into that, and if there's any plans for the future?
Sure. And before I answer that question, I look forward to doing that. I do just want to follow up on a couple of things that were said there by Chris and by Todd. I mean, I can't emphasize enough how important it was for us to have, you know, a team of people behind this effort that were aligned and shared the same vision. And everybody on this call, you know, Rachel was incredible, continues to be, and just Herculean effort to pull this off. It was really hard, especially in the middle of the crisis that we're still in. But to have alumni behind this in a way that was, you know, really the fuel behind this effort was absolutely crucial. And I know, you know, Chris mentioned, you know, our meeting in my office. To me, it was a linchpin. We needed 704 Shop to help propel this thing so that it wasn't just an okay launch. We wanted this to be a spectacular launch. And I know that, you know, I was not familiar with 704 Shop before I moved to Charlotte, but I'm pretty confident it only took me a couple of weeks of being here before I saw some of their stuff. And it wasn't much longer before I started ringing up a big bill on their shop. And Chris can attest to the amount of money that I personally spent at 704 Shop for the last 2 years, even before the launch of this brand, and will continue to do so. But my point is that I really felt, and we really felt, Chris Fuller and our team, we felt that, you know, 704 Shop would lend an additional credibility to the launch that was really important. We want to align ourselves as an athletic program with the very best brands, and 704 Shop is an incredible brand in our market. And so we believe as we continue to elevate this program that it's important that we stand shoulder to shoulder with the very best brands to reflect excellence and what we aspire to be. And so that's why it was important, amongst other things. We also knew that 704 Shop's fulfillment on their ordering process is second to none. The quality of the merchandise is second to none. And so it was the perfect solution. And we're just so grateful that they were willing to jump on board with us, and that it's been so successful for them. You know, you want to see it be successful for everyone. And we're so pleased and proud of that. And also, again, what Todd mentioned, just his deep roots here, and Steve Luquire and the LGA team have just done an amazing job and continue to with us to make sure that this thing sustains the momentum that it has. To answer the question about the university and athletics, you know, one thing that I learned pretty quickly when I arrived here was that the last time the athletics brand had been tweaked was almost 20 years ago, and that athletics had really made the move to identify itself purely as Charlotte and not as UNC Charlotte, and to go by Charlotte 49ers. And knowing that history now a lot better than I did before, I can completely understand why athletics made that move and made that decision. I know my first year here, I was enormously frustrated on a couple of instances. One that stuck out to me was we had a baseball player who was drafted by the Detroit Tigers, and the Detroit Tigers tweeted about it and referenced him being from the University of North Carolina. You know, I mean, obviously we're all part of the UNC system, but we're not the University of North Carolina, you know? And so that was, and of course we jumped on it to try to address it. But the bottom line is we fight those battles all the time, you know, as an athletics program. And I think as an institution, now, these are not easy questions because it's not just a simple decision by one individual to address an institution's name. And I can also tell you that much like we went through a brand assessment in athletics, you know, if the institution were to seriously consider how it brands itself, there are a ton of constituents that would have to be participants in that process. So, but I think in a perfect world, of course, athletics and the university would have the same brand, would have the same vision in terms of the messaging. And we have great alignment with the people on our campus. And I think great alignment, you've heard me say that word a million times already today, but it's so important. Athletics has the support of the university, and we support the university. And our new chancellor has been phenomenal. Our previous chancellor, Chancellor Dubois, was amazing. I'll always be grateful to him for giving me this opportunity to join this family. You know, but in terms of, you know, what the institution's name is and how athletics references itself, it's confusing, you know. And then you also look at, you know, we talk a lot about sort of the throwback days of when this institution was known as UNCC, right? You know, the Cornbread Maxwell days, going to the Final Four, it was UNCC. And you still have a lot of people locally who still refer to it as UNCC. And I know we have a segment of our fan base and alums who get very frustrated when they hear that because we don't reference ourselves that way anymore. But, you know, at the same time, if you send me an email or you send Chris Fuller or someone on our staff an email, the email address is at uncc.edu, you know? And so we have some things that we probably over the course of time need to clean up. And I believe that, you know, we've got great leadership at the board level and certainly in the chancellor and cabinet level. And so these are issues that they're not blind to by any stretch, but they're also not easy, and they're not as simple as people like to make them out to be to try to solve.
For sure. That's a great way to articulate it. And hopefully, you know, at some point I would love to see some throwback unis, you know, that would be fun as well. But we're on the new brand, which is awesome. And I'm liking seeing the new stuff. So speaking of new stuff, I'm going to go to Rachel and Chris. We got a question on when can we expect to see more female apparel with the new marks at Barnes & Noble's or 704, both female specific designs as well as unisex designs and female cuts.
So Barnes & Noble does have some female cuts in the bookstore. It's going to take a little bit for them to sell out through the old marks, but they are gradually getting the female product in with the new marks. So you'll see more throughout the year than the years to come. And of course, 704 Shop does a great job with what they've got going on.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that, Rachel. So yeah, we're definitely working on some more female specific stuff. It's a little tougher, I think, you know, for us with being a smaller firm, we typically tend to stay kind of in that unisex lane. But definitely a fair question. We're you know trying to work on some female specific stuff as well.
And Rachel, I'll go back to you with this one. The questions about the branded apparel being more accessible regionally in stores such as Dick's, TJ Maxx, Academy Sports. I can tell you I bought a new sweatshirt from Costco recently with the new brand. So I'm assuming that's starting to get out as well.
It's starting to get out. Right now, the pandemic, it's put a halt on things for a little bit. Some of our retailers are looking to see what universities are doing. They're paying attention to what we're doing as far as like letting the schools back in, sports and that kind of thing. So they're paying attention to that before they put more stuff in there. They are going to. You'll see a lot more of it next year. But because of what the situation we're in right now, you're not seeing as much as we would like, but we're pushing to get new merchandise in. So like for the academies, I know new product has been ordered for them. So you'll probably see that within the next several months. So it is coming out. It's just taking a little bit of time.
Excellent. And now I think anyone can come answer this one, but I'll start with Mike. Other than new merchandise, what other measures have you taken to rebrand?
You're on mute, Mike, I think.
I'm sorry about that. It's a great question because when you rebrand, it's a really comprehensive effort in this. It's not just merchandise driven, although that's obviously a crucial piece. You look at our facilities, for example, our team uniforms and the like. Those are all things that go through sort of a transformation. We're not able to do all of it at one time, and in large part out of sensitivity to the economic crisis that higher ed is in right now. But there's some pieces that were easy to do that we've already transitioned on our campus. If you see the center field wall, the batter's eye behind the outfield at baseball, now we have the new logo up there. You see that the wind screens at tennis are replaced now. Of course, the basketball floor has been resurfaced, and the basketball floor had to be resurfaced anyway, whether we rebranded or not. So a lot of those things, are a byproduct of just sort of natural wear and tear. Our football field we did not replace this year. We had intended to, but in the end we made it was a financial decision to get another year out of that field. Of course, it'd be nice to actually play a game on the field, but we are going to give that one more season here that we're in, and then over the next year or so replace that field so you have the new mark on the field. So those are some areas I think in terms of all of our different assets that we produce, video, collateral materials, et cetera. Our staff has done an incredible job. I think about like Zach McKay, who heads up our marketing, and Ozzy and Seth, and so many in our video shop, and everyone in our communication staff collectively have done an amazing job here. Again, under really difficult circumstances, right? And I think it's been helpful too that our coaches are so bought into this. You talk to Coach Healy and Coach Sanchez and Kara Consuegra and Robert Woodard and Ashley Chastain and on, our soccer teams. They've done some awesome uniform reveals, through video as well. So they're bought in. They see the power and the value from a recruiting standpoint because it really it's resonating well with recruitable age athletes, which was one of our goals as we made the decision to go to new creative. And so I think, again, all of those factor into the rebrand beyond just quote unquote, just producing merchandise.
Interesting follow-up question that just came in. After mentioning financial reasons for not replacing the football turf, what objectives must be met before stadium expansion is approved? I'm sure that's even tougher now in current climate.
Well, yeah. So, think about like the frustration level that we all have knowing what the momentum that we had after last year's first ever bowl appearance, not to have a chance to demonstrate, regularly packing the stadium. In the end, you got to fill the seats, right? And we showed several times last year we're capable of doing that. We also had a couple of games where we didn't do that. But I think we're definitely tracking and trending in the right direction. So it's really going to be dependent on, continuing to grow and increase our fan base, getting, making it so that it's a tough ticket, that it's a sellout situation. We do need to develop some premium seats so that we can generate additional revenue through club seats and suites, which we don't have in our stadium right now. So, I think that those are the kinds of premium seats that don't exist could certainly be on the table. And then the stadium was beautifully designed. It's a gorgeous stadium, and it was built to be expanded. And one day we look forward to doing that. And it's just a matter of what the world's going to allow us to do, based on the circumstances that we find ourselves in right now.
So another similar question. So everyone knows TLT for the outstanding airport. We want Charlotte to embrace us the same way. How will the new brand identity help? And I know you talked a little bit about getting more merchandise at the airport as well.
Yeah, and I know, I'm sure Rachel and others could chime in on this, but we want people to land at Charlotte Douglas and walk by the merchandise store in there and not just see Clemson and NC State and Duke and North Carolina. We want them to see Charlotte. I mean, we're the hometown team, right? And so, and it's easier said than done. I mean, if I could wave a wand, it would already be done, obviously. But we do believe that the rebrand is going to help us in those initiatives and those efforts. It's a newer, cleaner look, that has some momentum and has some buzz in this community. I can tell you, it's a rare day when I'm not wearing the new mark, and I live in Uptown. And I'm around all the time. I'm walking because we still work from home a lot. If I'm not on campus, I'm working from home. And when I walk around the community, people recognize the logo already. They know what it is. And actually, I have to share a really quick story that I love to tell. A couple of weeks ago, so we played football, had a game at North Texas, and we played in Denton, and I was at our hotel Marriott. Of course, we're all socially distanced, so I'm just hanging out, passing the night. And I ordered some dinner through DoorDash. And when the food arrived, and again, I had my All NC logo on my shirt, and I didn't think anything of it. I'm in freaking Denton, Texas, right? And so I opened the door to get my food, and the guy who delivers the food stopped and looked at me, and he said, "Hey, go Niners." And he recognized the All NC. I didn't have the word Niners. I didn't have Charlotte, anything, right? So it turns out he is from the area, and he had moved to Texas a couple of years ago, but he recognized the mark. So that should tell you, again, that this is something that has gained a lot of momentum and a lot of steam. I can also say this, that, the impact that this had on our peers in college athletics is significant, and that should not ever be undersold. I heard and we heard from other athletic directors, conference commissioners, and I'm talking about Power 5 conferences, okay, who chimed in, who texted people I haven't heard from in months to say, "Wow, love it, love your new look," and they see the new uniforms, the first football game, they love the look, right? And so it's powerful because of the simplicity of it. It's a clean look, it's a powerful look. And the connectivity to our city was really, really important, which is why you have the CLT mark. We are this city's hometown university. And, Chris made that comment earlier. We're the powerhouse university here. And we embrace our city, and we need our city to embrace us. And we're going to continue to be really, really aggressive about it.
Well, we're all loving the All NC, and I think I'll go to Todd on this. Can you talk a little bit how the All NC was developed?
Yeah, sure. And I'm glad Mike kind of gave that overview earlier. It was a long process. It was a 14, 15 month process. And I'm glad we're talking through sort of the lens of marketing, because what had to happen, it was a brand isn't just a logo. It's not a tagline. This was research that was given that we did, whether it was like in-depth interviews, online surveys with students, with alums, to understand what the brand stood for and where the opportunities were. So we do all the research, we analyze the data, it's all about data, and you determine that we develop a new sort of positioning statement. There's a brand voice, there's a brand promise, and the brand promise that came out of all that research is what Charlotte stands for, and it's fearlessly embracing momentum. That's sort of like the 3 words that the Charlotte brand stands for. So then our job as creatives, as art directors and designers, is to take that strategy, because it all has to be built off of a strategy. We take that strategy and we try to determine how to execute that visually. So if you have a word like fearless, you know that it has to sort of have some mass to it. It has to be a substantial image, and we wanted something that was maybe a branded letter form. So something that stood out in the public as a C. And then you think about, embracing, and that's a hard word to think about how to do visually, but like with negative space or subtraction or inclusion, you can kind of create that storytelling element of the pick, sort of the negative shape inside the C, so that Charlotte and Niners can't be separated. They have to be together. It's embracing, right? And then that third element is momentum. Well, we could have left the C stagnant and solid and said, hey, where we were in the past is okay, but Charlotte isn't about our past and the present. It's about where we're going. Look at the hires that Mike has done on the coaching staff side. Look at the recruits we're getting. Look at the growth of the university and the city of Charlotte. So it's about momentum. So we slanted the C forward 9 degrees because we're Niners, and gave it a little bit more of an aggressive stance, so that when you look at it, it embodies what the brand is about. And then it needed to be able to work with that CLT. It needed to be able to work with Club Lit. It needed to think about, when you think about the old CPIC, was a great sort of illustrative logo, but it was designed 20 years ago before the iPhone existed. And when you think about a brand on say an ESPN app that didn't come out till 2010, 10 years later, having that logo to be able to exist when it's only 10 pixels or 15 pixels high was sort of the some of the mandatories we had to think about as we're going through the brand standards. So it had to work on a helmet, it had to work on center court, but it had to work in a digital space where people, when they saw it, understood that's Charlotte and we're the Niners.
And a follow-up on that, when did you know you hit the mark on that C in the CLT? Do you know immediately? Take a little bit?
It's tough. We do so many variations. We do so many exploratory. You can't, in this business, you can't design it and think, okay, I'm done. You've got to sort of break it down. You got to keep pushing. You got to simplify it more. I think when we started to get feedback from the student athletes, and that they were getting excited about the mark and they were wanting to share it, it started to feel, it felt like we had, lightning in a bottle at that point, and we just had to get it to launch. But yeah, it was a process. It was a labor of love. But once we started to dial it in, then we could focus on the details and making sure that it represented the brand correctly in the outside world.
The use of the negative space is genius. And the 9-degree lean, man, I mean, that's just, I love a great story, and that's just powerful to me. Todd, I appreciate that.
Thanks, Chris. That was the team. That wasn't just like, that's why it's not just, the logo I worked on. There was a group of art directors and designers that we all kept pushing and simplifying and working on it. And it was that collaborative spirit that we've talked about through this entire process. It wasn't one person's vision. It was sort of, it's great we're talking about athletics because it was a team approach.
So before we wrap up, I just want to make sure we give each of you just a moment for any final thoughts. So I will start with Chris.
I mean, I've been excited. I don't know if it probably doesn't resonate on the screen here, but I've been excited about this panel for as soon as Kenzie asked if I would be willing to do it. And just like Todd mentioned, I mean, obviously I'm the one that gets to come here and do this panel, but it's a total team effort on 704 Shop's part. My business partner Scott put a lot, I'm talking months and months and months of work into bringing this stuff to fruition. I I just do my part to like make sure that the perception of it is going to be, you know, what we want it to be, and that it's respected in the way that it should be. But it's been a great partnership. And, you know, like I said, we're in it for the long haul, and, you know, we're going to continue to get these orders out quickly, Mike. So if you want to keep using that card, sir, we won't be mad at all. And but no, this has been great. And you know, like I said, we look forward to continuing to push more stuff out, starting even just tomorrow. Wear Green Wednesdays, guys.
Good transition to Rachel. Rachel, any final thoughts?
So referring to the Wear Green Wednesdays, I encourage all faculty, staff, and students, alumni, and community to wear green on Wednesdays, because this is how you show your school pride and your support for the hometown university. We are not an old university. We're very young, so we need to make sure that we are showing support and showing people that we're not going anywhere, and that Charlotte is the university of Charlotte's choice. So that's my feedback.
Mike?
Yeah, I just would like to say again, I want to thank everybody who was a part of the panel today, and who also, you know, played huge roles in this launch. And, you know, again, I want to acknowledge Chris Fuller, our deputy AD, who did a masterful job of shepherding this project. This is really hard to do. It's really hard to do in the middle of a pandemic, but it's hard even under normal circumstances. So, you know, we're extremely proud of where we are today with the brand. We think it's gained incredible traction in a short amount of time, and believe that, you know, it's going to help elevate our program even to higher levels than what we've ever envisioned before. You know, competitively, we're working really hard to build a program that our alums and students can be proud of, and building on a foundation of greatness that was already there. And so we think this is reflective of that, and really is the perfect time for us to be able to capitalize on the momentum. You know, fearlessly embracing momentum, again, not necessarily a slogan, but I do think it represents what we're doing here. We're going to make decisions fearlessly here, and we are going to embrace the momentum of our program and of our institution.
Thanks, Mike. And Todd, last but not least, any final thoughts?
No, I just would like to reiterate the thanks for the opportunity to kind of give, you know, marketing students, individuals who are passionate about the brand, sort of a little bit of a look behind. It's like, you know, I think you know, Mike and Rachel and Chris and everyone sort of showed the amount of lead time and thought and thoughtfulness that everyone put into this along the way. And just to be a part of it is quite an honor.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. We have another door prize, so don't leave us yet, everyone. So the next door prize is courtesy of 704 Shop and Chris Moxley. And it's a $50 gift card to 704 Shop. And if you win that, you can get that sweet track jacket. I know everyone wants it, that Coach Healy was wearing. Also, cheap plug, Coach Healy talks about the brand on the new episode of Minor Obsession that dropped today. So if you want to win that $50 704 Shop gift card, use the hashtag BoldRush and tag UNCC Belk College, and give us what your biggest takeaway from today's discussion was. And we will send you a direct message if you're selected to win. That's an awesome prize, though, so make sure you get on it. Again, I want to thank all our panelists for taking their time and being part of this Bold Rush behind the scenes discussion. We appreciate everything you've done and what you've gotten us to. And then, of course, you know, this is Spirit Week. So we want to make sure that everyone is aware that special reminder that Niner Nation Spirit Week, a virtual celebration of Niner spirit, traditions, and camaraderie. Make plans to join other events listed in spiritweek.uncc.edu and celebrate your Niner pride through October 24th. Finally, quick reminder, if you're looking for more ways to support the Belk College of Business students, I encourage you to visit giving.uncc.edu and designate the Alumni Scholarship Fund for your gift online. Thank you all for joining, and please stay safe and remember to always wear green and go Niners. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks again.